The David Knight Show.
So the question is President Trump relying on Mitch McConnell? Do you think that we can trust Mitch McConnell to protect the border? He hasn't done it for years. I trust people like Mo Brooks. I trust people like Mark Meadows. I trust people like various immigration groups, all of whom believe that this so-called spending bill with no money for the wall, essentially, is going to undermine the powers that President Trump already has. Very concerned about this. I'm going to break down the details of this, but here is what Mark Meadows had to say about moving the wall forward.
You like this? Would you support this?
No, I don't support it, and I don't like it. I can tell you that only in Washington, D.C. can we start out with needing $25 billion for border security measures and expect applause at 1.37. I mean, only in D.C. is that a winning deal. I can tell you it is just not only a bad deal for the president. Ultimately, I expect him to sign it and keep the government open as a vehicle. But if he does that, then certainly executive action should be his next course of action.
All right, so
the question is the declaration of an emergency and pulling in money from these other, is that going to be enough? Or are there things in here that are going to subvert the president's ability to do that will tie him up in court? Let's take a look at what Mo Brooks had to say. Mark Meadows was saying it'll take 20 years to build. Of course it will. And that's the other part of this. I think that if the president were to not go this national emergency route, if he would have just gone in, or still can go in and say, we're going to build it with the military, we're going to use military money, and we're going to use the military to build this quickly like they did in Syria. They built all those bases, airfields, and so forth in Syria. Where'd they get the money? How'd they do it so quickly? Well, it was the military, and the military can be used, believe it or not, contrary to what the Democrats and the mainstream media tell us, the military can be used to protect this country. But if we start to go down this path, I'll show you how they're going to delay this. I don't think it'll be done in 20 years, quite frankly. Mark Meadows says, this will take 20 years to build it. No, I don't think they'll get it done even then. Mo Brooks says, I applaud President Trump when he does things that help to secure our border. But this legislation does not help to secure our border. In fact, it makes things worse in my judgment. If the president were to veto it, we would sustain his veto. I certainly hope the president will veto it because it's really bad for America. Now we know that the president said he's not going to veto it. It has been passed by both the House and Senate. The president said he's going to sign it and then declare a national emergency. But here's Mo Brooks's concerns about this. He said there is a de facto amnesty provision for illegal alien sponsors, household members, relatives of unaccompanied minors coming across the southern border. And there are other restrictive policies that could block this national emergency declaration. For example, any sanctuary city or state potentially has the authority to block the construction of any wall during this fiscal year that they don't like or want, said Mo Brooks. With respect to immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, all sorts of limitations will be put into effect with this bill, essentially providing amnesty for illegal aliens. If you've got an unaccompanied alien child, a UAC, in your household, then your entire household is exempt from being deported. So guess what you're going to do if you're MS-13, what they're already doing. Grab a kid, bring him across the border. And that's one of the reasons why you've got to take these so-called family groups and put them somewhere so you can identify who these people are. You don't know who any of these people are coming, who they are when they're coming across the border. They've got no papers. There's no way you can validate their identity. I mean, one of the few things you could do is do DNA tests to see if there's even any relationship between these people and the children. So he said, basically, you're MS-13, you kidnap a kid, or you get a kid to come with you, and boom, you're immune from deportation, no matter how many drugs you sell, no matter how many people you kill. That's in this bill that President Trump is about to sign. I believe, Mo Brooks believes, Mark Meadows believes, this is going to weaken the border situation. Forget the money stuff. Even forget the national emergency, because this can be shut down, the national emergency declaration, that he already has that power from Congress, from the Constitution, from the drug war, all these different places, they're going to basically veto that with the sanctuary city legislation. He said, then you've got other language in this legislation that has the potential to restrict the ability of the president to build a wall under the emergency declaration. Average folks need to call and contact the White House and go crazy about this legislation. When you're trying to get bad legislation shoved down your throat at the last second, the people in the public need to have the opportunity to review or to understand it and to communicate their views to their elected officials in Washington, D.C. Every time you see these massive bills coming down the pike and you got 24 hours to put them through, you know that you're being, having the wool pulled over your eyes. I mean, how many times have we seen this? And we've got not just Nancy Pelosi, but then Paul Ryan did it. Now Pelosi's doing it again. Why are we taking this bait? This is foolish. Brooks went on to say there are 3 different provisions that have caused at least one attorney, that was quite a few people, more than one attorney, to express great reservation about how the courts would interpret this. Without the law passing, we've got a pretty clear picture about what the president can and can't do. But if this law passes, it creates uncertainties about what the president can and cannot do. He said, the parts that we've read, we're not even really sure what they mean, even though they pushed this thing through at the last minute. He said, the longer you allow illegal aliens to stay in the U.S., the greater the probability they're ultimately going to get amnesty because they're going to have kids. People refer to them as anchor babies. The public is going to eventually allow that sort of amnesty long term. Open border Democrats believe that they got a steal of a deal. 90% of them voted for it. A significant majority of Republicans voted against it. Why is President Trump signing this? He says you got establishment Republicans, you got the Koch brothers, you got the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, you got groups that want huge surges in the labor supply because it suppresses wages for workers. These are the people that President Trump is listening to. He's taking their assurances instead of listening to Mark Meadows, the House Freedom Caucus, people like Mo Brooks. And you need to be letting him know because, as I've said before, we're in this canoe and you got all these people that are paddling on the left side of the canoe. And you got some of the people who say that they're supposed to be rowing on the right side, like Mitch McConnell. They're paddling on the left side of the canoe as well. And they're turning the thing around on President Trump and on us. He said this is important, folks. Mo Brooks laid it out for us. There is no chance that Democrats are going to give up their long-term game plan, their long-term control of the U.S., their long-term desire to dilute the votes of American citizens by agreeing to border security and a wall. There's no way they're going to do that. They have put stuff in here that is going to take away the powers that the president already has to protect the border that he hasn't used in the last 2 years. The president 2 years ago, he said, should have declared a national emergency. I've been saying that I don't even think he needed to declare a national emergency. I've been saying for 2 years, do it. Just do it. Nike. Victory. Declare victory. The president 2 years ago should have used statutes like 10 United States Code 284, where he had the power to direct the U.S. military to go to the border and build a wall. That's right. And you don't even need an emergency for that. I mean, that makes it a stronger case. If you say you got an emergency, but you can just use the military to do that. Did we have to have, as I've said, and I'll say it again, who gave us the permission to go build all the stuff that we did and start the war in Syria? We didn't. We didn't. And he said, how many dead Americans do you have to have for it to be a national emergency? We're losing 50 dead Americans a day, 15,000 a year from illegal alien homicides coupled with drug overdoses. We had a war because we had 3,000 people die on 9/11. Well, we'll come back. I've got a couple more things to say about this, and then we're going to get on to civil law.
The fight for freedom has never been more grave. And now, more than ever, the world needs you.
We are running into next level attempts to not get the broadcast out. So, everything's free to air. We send the TV show out on satellite, over the internet. Anyone wants to pick it up, anyone wants to carry it, anybody wants to chop it up, you want to restream it on your website, That's how we're going to get around all this, is for other people to set up InfoWars backup stations where you get our streams and then you resend them out on different formats, different ways, and the enemy can't stop it.
So here's how to do it. To stream it, first, get the show links. Go to Infowars.com/stream it for links and instructions. Download and install free VLC software. Download, install, and launch free Open Broadcaster software. Scroll down to add a new source. Select VLC video source. Click OK. Click to add path URL. Paste and press OK. You are now set to stream. To upload it, simple. Go to Infowars.com. Click on Videos. Select a video. Download it. Create a YouTube page. Upload the videos. You are now in the Info War.
I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Thomas Jefferson.
We are under attack.
Go to Infowars.com/stream it for links and instructions.